I'm going to call the meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen,
Present.
Mayor Brown,
Present.
Councilmember Sweet,
Present.
Councilmember Tucson,
Present.
Councilmember Simmons, and
Oh, I don't know which one.
Councilmember Simmons is walking in. Councilmember King,
Present.
six present, we have quorum.
All right. Please rise as you're able for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, everyone. So excited. I will entertain a motion for agenda approval.
So moved.
Any updates, changes? Being none, all in favor of the agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So, I will also ask council if someone can make a motion for us to go into closed session, and if you could read the MCL code. Council, it's just the numbers that be there.
I move to go into closed session per MCL 15.268C negotiations of collective bargaining unit agreement.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember King,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson,
Yes.
six yeses, the motion carries.
Right, thank you. We are gonna go to the basement and then we'll be back. Are we good, Aaron? All right. All right, I'm gonna call the meeting back to order. Thank you all so much for your patience and for being with us. And so we will get right to it with our first presentation from the University Musical Society. And, oh, there you are. Come on up. Good evening.
We brought everyone tonight.
Yeah, I'm
Looks like everyone.
okay with that.
Mayor Brown, members of council, thank you very much for hosting us tonight and letting us have a few moments of your agenda. I'm Matthew Van Beesen. I'm the president of the University Musical Society, or UMS. I'm wearing a mask, not because I'm sick, but I have someone in my home that's sick and I'm trying not to share even in this season of sharing. So I'm joined tonight by some wonderful colleagues. My colleague, the Vice President of Learning and Engagement for UMS, Kyan Harris, who has been such an incredible architect of our work here in Ypsi at the Freight House. We have our board chair, Christina Kim, who's with us tonight. David Wilhoit, who is a board member of UMS and the CEO of Wacker Chemical for North America, a supporter of UMS, who's here with us tonight. We were hoping to have Curtis Wallace, our wonderful artist and visual artist and partner in the special project with Marcus Elliott, but Curtis could not be with us tonight, but we're happy to have Eden Spring, who is the studio manager and works closely with Curtis with you. So I'll be brief and then let some of my colleagues speak, but I just want to say thank you to Mayor Brown and to everyone here on the council and everyone here in Ypsi for the support of this partnership. UMS is incredibly proud to be this resident arts partner here at the Ypsi Freight House. This has been our inaugural year in 2023 with a kind of a pilot residency back in April, and then a full 4-week residency in September 2023. We, of course, have been working at the Ypsi Freight House all the way back to 2018, but to really take this forward step to be in Ypsi regularly is really a pleasure and an honor. We started, of course, planning for this project way back in 2021 under Mayor Lois Richardson's term. Heading now into the project, Mayor Brown, thank you for your support and your energy as we move this forward, and to everyone here on council. So the goals of this residency have been simple but hugely important for us at UMS, but we've done it with an eye to this community and what we could really do in partnership with all of you. We wanted to activate this unique and historic space for arts performance, for arts learning, for arts participation, have community-based projects, intimate, small-scale performances, really highlight and feature local and regional artists, as well as bring some national, international artists to the table. We wanted all the way through to ensure equitable and prioritized access for Ypsilanti residents and really curate all of the offerings in response to community needs and interests, really promoting interactions between artists and audiences, and really inspiring and showcasing local creativity in youth and adults. And last thing I'll say is that we wanted to do many, many things in this partnership, but we really wanted to bring net investment here to Ypsilanti. So that means financial resources, that means artists and companies, and it means UMS's facilitation and incredible staff and team of expertise to bear on this project. So thank you so much. I want to hand it over to Christina Kim, our board chair, to say a few words.
Good evening. Thanks for having us here tonight. So as Matthew mentioned, I am currently serving as the co-chair of the board of directors for UMS, but I'm also here tonight on behalf of myself as a parent with 3 young children who attended many of the events at the residency, both in the fall and back in the springtime. And we had a wonderful time with many of our Ann Arbor friends who came, who maybe have not spent as much time in the Ypsilanti community. And also we're so happy that so many Ypsilanti residents took advantage of these activities being in their backyard. So we had a fabulous time, despite the fact that my kids came home with a couple of very noisy kazoos, which have since mysteriously disappeared. And on behalf of the board of directors, I also wanted to express our deep appreciation for the partnership that that you all have provided for us. We know that it would not have been a successful event without that, and we look forward to partnering with all of you in the seasons to come. So thank you very much.
Eric, good to see you again, council members. I just want to talk a little bit about the event. You were there. It was spectacular. We had representation from Congresswoman Debbie Dingell there, and it was truly a celebration. It was held on September 22nd. It was a special performance called Sonic Contributions, honoring the past, present, and future of African-American community in Ypsilanti. And it was fabulous because it was such an incredible year with the 200th anniversary of Ypsilanti. And it really focused on the collaboration of the African-American Cultural and Historical Museum of Washtenaw County, celebrating some great members of the community over the years. We had a saxophonist, Marcus Elliott, and he had a 7-piece band of musicians and artists telling of the time, the significant historical figures in Ypsilanti's history, celebrating the bravery of those who sought for freedom, working through the Underground Railroad, and honoring the resilience of the African-American community in Ypsilanti. Curtis Wallace, and I was amazed. I had no idea this was going to take place, but he's a local artist who in real time interpreted the music. And I happened to be very close to him, and I watched the transformation. And after the event ended, we knew that this had to be given to the city of Ypsilanti. And so with it here today, we just wanted to give it to Ypsilanti and yourself, Mayor. Curtis isn't here to explain it, but it was a live transformation. I was watching the figure here started off with anguish and pain, looking at the history of Ypsilanti. And then as the vibrancy of the music continued, the face was brightened up of the future and the potential growth within Ypsilanti. So for me, it is wonderful. Here, I talked to him afterwards. He said this symbolized the 3/5 part of the original legislation, and it's aspiring up to the mountain. So it's a gift from us, and we knew it had to be given to Ypsilanti. So thank you very much.
Sure. You want everybody? You want everyone? Everybody? Okay, y'all want to come take a picture? I wasn't prepared for a photo today. Children.
Definitely, this is definitely, the height is definitely geared for you on this.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that, but I knew I would have. Oh, I wonder, are we gonna hang it up here? Okay.
Is it possible we all get?
Right, it's empty. Oh, I can take, we can take a really good picture of it.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Sorry. There were several of us who got to attend the event, and I just want to say how moving the presentation was, the stories, how they incorporated the music and art, and how you all brought it forward. I mean, literally, we were talking about it for days after, about how we wanted to have this piece of art to be able to watch again and to share with others about Ipsy, because I think there were pieces that were lifted that have never been talked about in that type of detail, intentionally and just so beautifully. It was a very, very moving experience for someone who, I try to learn new things about Ipsy, and I learned a lot sitting here as mayor that evening, and even talking with Marcus Elliott. And then I got to see Curtis? Yeah, Curtis. I was gonna say, yeah, Curtis again. After that in an event, we talked a little bit about his work as well. So I just thank you all so much for your commitment to this community and for being just so thoughtful and collaborative in the work that you did to represent Ypsilanti as a community. It was very, very meaningful to me, and I think to many, many others who had the ability to participate and see this. And I cannot wait to get this recording so I can share it with some other people, because they need to see it. It was amazing. I know there were other members of council who were there who may want to speak to it. Councilmember Simmons?
Oh yeah, it was great. It was a lovely experience. I have a quick question, which is, and I don't know if you all have this now, but just in terms of if you have a sense of how many, or like the percentage of folks from Ypsilanti that participated in the different kind of activities that were there for this.
Oh, can you come on up, please? I know. Come on down. Thank you. Yes.
Well, I should have come better prepared to answer this question. We look at zip codes and we ask for zip codes when people register. So in case folks don't know, everything we offer there is either free or pay what you wish. But we ask for zip codes so we can kind of track who's coming from Ipsy and who's coming from out of town. And gosh, off the top of my head, and I'm trying to think. So we had a pilot in April, and then we had about a month of activity in September. And we're seeing about 50-50 Ipsy residents and non-residents. And we're hoping to really grow the number of Ypsilanti residents, but it's actually kind of amazing. I think Christina mentioned this in her comments, to see different communities coming together. And one of the things that we heard a lot when we had public meetings, inviting people to tell us what they really wanted. People wanted social opportunities. They wanted, even within Ypsilanti, to get to know their neighbors and have opportunities to come together around the arts. So we're seeing good numbers. We're also seeing lots of people who, when they are coming from outside of the community, they're dining in Depot Town, they're shopping in this community as well. So they're making more out of it. So, and we're going to track that over time. So if you invite us back at some point, I can come prepared with really good data and share the exact numbers.
Other questions or anything else from council while he's up here? No,
I don't have
you want to
questions,
comment?
but yeah.
Okay, you don't have to stay up there. Okay, Councilmember King.
I was just gonna say, being a lifelong resident of Ypsilanti, I really enjoyed the show. I enjoyed hearing about a street that I grew up on, Adams, and just learning about families that are in the community now, and just learning new stuff that I did not know about those families that are embedded in the community. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I know in our one of our meetings that we have with the city manager, there were so many goals that we talked about, like what we wanted to see the outcome of the collaboration, and you all produce that for us. And so that's when we look at collaboration and teamwork, this is a great example of what that looks like. That it still feels so connected to Ypsilanti, and it felt so connected to Ypsi, even though, we know it's the first year that this collaboration has happened, but it felt very centered around the voices in this community. And I really, really appreciate that very much. So thank you all so much. Thank you. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. You can stay and hang out if you like, but we're going to move on to our next presentation, which will be Barbie. Hello. Our city manager candidates from Amy Sell. Good evening.
Good evening. I wish I would have brought a big piece of art, but
It's okay. You got time? I'm kidding.
well, you don't want me
I'm
doing
kidding.
any kind of art.
No, I'm kidding. Good evening.
Hi. I know we'll be talking later and discussing the candidates, but I just wanted to give a brief overview of who applied, how many more applied since you bumped up the compensation, and then talk about what we can discuss when I'm up here again. Okay. So before the posting was extended, we had just about like 190-ish, 190 apply for it. Not all were qualified. There was, I think, 13 that we were further assessing. And I believe there were 8 that I presented briefly, condensed version. Since the extension and since we increased the compensation, we had 245 total. So we probably had about 55, I'm not good at math, 55, 60 more additional applicants. And all of them had more experience. So we had, probably, I would say all but one that I'll present tonight had like 5+ years of city manager experience. Or 5+ years of, municipal assistant type experience combined. All because the salary was increased, were wanted to apply. We did have 2 that fell off last minute due to competing communities and being offered additional other employment. So that's that update. And then later we'll need to discuss or come up with a interview date. Pick a date, pick a time. It'll be council interviews, but you'll want to think about, do we want to do staff panel interviews as well? And those can be done earlier in the day. So just food for thought right now. So we'll do like a straw vote when we just to start the candidate selection. So everyone will I'll go through the names, and I won't name names due to confidentiality. We'll refer to them with the number that's next to them on the tracking sheet. So we'll do sort of a straw vote. There usually are a couple that everyone's like in favor. There's usually a few on the bottom that are like no. And then there's usually a few right in the middle where it might warrant more discussion or asking questions. I think that's all I have for now. I think that's all we want to do right now. Yeah.
And so she was just up to kind of give a little overview, because we're going to get back with Barbie at letter C on our agenda to go into more detail and discuss what we received in our email, right?
Correct. Yeah. And ask questions,
Next question.
anything. Yeah.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you. Next, we have Fed Up Ministries. Hello. Good evening. Hi.
Sorry. Everyone's here on my computer. Ooh. Hi, everyone. Hi, council and mayor. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I am Pastor Anna Taylor McCants. I'm the executive director of Fed Up Ministries and also the pastor. We are a faith-based nonprofit and a secular nonprofit as well. We serve free meals on a food truck in the community. And I was just abandoned by my board president, Tajali Hodge, and our partner in this work, Julie Spuzzard, who's the executive director of Growing Hope. They both had to leave because of the Sierra Club obligation. So that's okay. It's just going to be me answering your all's questions tonight. So I'm here today, long story short, to gain support for the next kind of adventure in our ministry. So we have been serving meals in Ypsi Township for 2.5 years, free meals on our food truck. We've been serving meals in the city of Ypsilanti for 1.5 years on our food truck. We have employed folks from the community that we've served on our food truck for about 2 years now. And for the past probably 5 months, we have started our mobile shower facility, which we call Wash Up. So there's Fed Up and there's Wash Up. And then there's our spiritual worship services, and that is called Lift Up. And so those are the programs that we currently offer. But as you guys know, I'm sure you do, being here in Ypsi, we know that Hope Clinic is the one free meal option here every day of the week, except the one day of the week that the church service downtown does it, or that the church kitchen does it. And there are no breakfast meals on a regular basis in Ypsilanti, and there are no lunch meals that are free on a regular basis for folks who are unhoused or families who are housed or precariously housed, but also experiencing food insecurity. We also know that Hope Clinic has reported like a double, like an increase, like they were serving like maybe, what did they say last year? I wish I had the numbers in front of me. It was like maybe 80 meals right now, or 50 meals this time last year. And it's increased to the hundreds of meals that they're serving basically daily, right? And so I'm sorry that I did not present a packet with that information, but they have basically increased by double. We also know that food pantries are increasing the need, like we've seen 30 to 300% increases in food pantry need across the country. And that is also something that is happening locally as well. And when we first started serving meals in 2021, we served 4,000 meals. Last year, we served around 15,000. This year, we're not going to make 25,000, but it's going to be close. And those are meals, more than half of what we serve are completely free meals to people who are food and housing insecure. And the other meals are ways that we employ our folks from the community. So people hire us for catering, right? We have a diverse funding stream. So people will hire us for a catering, they'll donate what they can. We're able to give folks jobs. Churches and faith communities will donate to us. Individual donors will donate to us. And then we also have our grant streams that help us do the work that we do. But we are now approaching 25,000 meals. I'm sure we'll exceed that next year. We can no longer operate out of the church kitchen that we've been operating out of in Ann Arbor. And with the increasing need of folks in the community who need access to meals, and with our connection to our folks here on the streets in Ypsilanti, we are looking to have a brick and mortar location. We'll still continue to have our fleet of vehicles and serve our programs off of our trucks. But we are looking at putting down some roots so that we can start offering meals to families more than just 2 hours a week in the community. So we right now have people that come down on the bus and they come to the bus station, they wait on us, they take meals to go home to their families every Wednesday. People will come over to the warming center. We serve a meal every Wednesday at the warming center. They'll eat, they'll take some to go because they don't know where their next meal may be coming from. So our hope with our cafe and our space is to partner with people in the community to offer a space where people can come anytime they need a meal. You know, probably like our ideal start hours are going to be like 8 to 3-ish during the day. And knowing that Hope Clinic provides a dinner, right? And we want to support the work that Hope Clinic is doing, and we know that it's also not enough. So as we are doing this work, we have worked with a couple of different contractors. We have some drawings from a couple of different architects. We are going to be approaching the Planning Commission soon. And what we really would love is to have support from the council. I don't know if you all know that our folks that everyone was upset about outside of Growing Hope, they're still here on the streets, right? You guys have driven by every single one of them. They're still out here. Tonight they were in front of Deja Vu. Other times they're in front of the legal aid. They're still here. They're at the warming center every day. We're still talking to them. We're still waving at them. And as the weather gets warm in the summer again, and just a couple months from now, we could find ourselves in a similar, at least, position that we were in last summer, where there's a lot of folks who are not having their basic needs met, who need something positive to do. And need some spaces to go and hang out in the community where they're valued and where they can find meaningful work and participation, right? And so we have a lot of models that we have looked at. One of them most recently that we have gone and visited is the Same Cafe in Toledo. So if you guys haven't seen that, check that out. They're in a library in downtown Toledo, and everyone pays for a meal, whether that's 25 cents, $25, volunteering for 30 minutes, right? But it engages people in being a part of that space in some way. As we are looking to expand our space in Ypsilanti, that's what we want to do. We want to be sure that people know that no matter what they have to offer, it might not be monetary value, but they have something to offer to our community. And we want to help kind of raise that up and bring that out for the folks who are staying out on the streets and for people who are housed alike, right? Because like I said, we have tons of families who come and take meals to go, or individuals who take food back home to their families. When we open our cafe, we want to be a space for families to come and be able to sit across the table right here and not have to worry about who's doing the dishes, but talk about what homework they have or how they were doing in basketball or what things that, they learned in gym class or what they're, and some families don't have the same access to that as others. So I would love to say going forward, this is the first of many kind of times that we want to come before and say, these are some of our plans and this is what we are talking with other nonprofits and community members about and what some of the needs are. I would love to figure out how to engage the council as we make our plans moving forward, right? Like, I think that doing things in silos, faith communities by themselves are not the answer. Nonprofits by themselves are not the answer. Government by themselves is not the answer, right? That we need a multi-pronged kind of approach. We are part of a solution, but we aren't the only solution. And so I would love to know how we can sit around the table and kind of hear some concerns that y'all have, hear some concerns that residents and community members have, because we heard a lot of them last year, a couple months ago, right? But we didn't hear a lot of solutions. So we want to be a space of trying to come up with solutions, partnering together for solutions. Support could look like helping us to find a space while we are building the property at Growing Hope. It could look like helping us to find a vacant lot that we could purchase from the city to put up a lovely shipping container style space, just like they have in Detroit, and, open up this cafe rather quickly. It could also look like grant money. It could also just look like vocal support and helping to combat the misinformation about the folks in our community who are on the streets right now. And we know that the county has lost 1,800 or 3,600. Do you remember what the commissioner said? Units of affordable housing in the last year. And so because we've lost so many units, we can expect that we are going to see more people on our streets, and folks are being pushed to this eastern part of the county. They're being pushed also into Wayne County. And so what can we do to tell people that they're valued and supported, and also to show them that they're wanted here, right? And that we are creating a space for them. Do you guys have questions for me or about our initial ideas?
Questions for Pastor Anna? Comments, thoughts for Pastor Anna? I'll start. I've had the opportunity, of course, a number of times during the summer to come over. On Thursday mornings, I got to tour the showers before they were launched into the community. I thought that was such a cool idea and an amazing way to support people in the community. And so I think that anything that we can do to support folks and make sure that people get their basic needs met in a way that's healthy and collaborative and welcoming, I support. And so however we can figure out, we know Ypsi, we have our challenges, we have our things that we are focused on. And so I can't, as one individual, or even I don't think as council, can say we can do all of this, but what we can do is figure out ways to support and make sure that you all are able to do the work that you're doing so that our community members get what they need. And I appreciate all the work that you all have done to do that over the years. One of my questions, kind of similar to when we were talking with UMS and Councilmember Simmons asked, do you know, and I know off top, I hate to have people number questions off the top of their head, but in the 15,000 meals or the 4,000 or the almost 25,000, how many of those can we identify as like Ypsilanti residents versus Ann Arbor and Ypsi or Ypsi Township?
Yeah. I could look up our spreadsheet to be exact, but more than half of the free meals that we serve are in the Ypsilanti area. And that has been just a change from this last year in 2023. 2022 was not that way. Like we were always pretty busy at the bus station, but our Ann Arbor meals still we were always preparing more food for those. And there was a larger encampment of folks who would come, and we would go, to West Park and to the Liberty Plaza. But this year with having 2 locations in Ypsi, and not everyone came to both locations. Sometimes they would come on Wednesday and Thursday, and sometimes it would be an entirely different group of people, but that is actually where we serve the bulk of our meals. So this summer in July, when we started the very first meal, we advertised for 2 days and we had 75 people come to breakfast within less than 48 hours. And that number stayed consistent for the time that we were doing our Thursday breakfasts. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments or Pastor Anna? Councilmember Simmons. And then Mayor-
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. And just to say, you have, my vocal support, and I'm sure others on council, at least in terms of wanting to think about ways to best support the community and appreciating kind of like solutionary efforts to try to address the needs in a way that is loving and also reduces harm, but also like helps people to like work into, both building skills, building community, doing, what can happen when people are closer to their best selves, so just appreciation for that. And then, thanks for having a couple of things that we can think about in terms of ways we can support your efforts. So, definitely keep us updated. You were saying that you might be looking for space on your way as you're working on building a space with the Growing Hope property. So I just wanted to ask a little bit more about that, like what that timeline looked like, because so I'll start there.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you. I spoke very quickly, and I'm sorry. I put myself on this arbitrary. I needed to be done by 7:30 time, and apparently that's not true. So we're okay. I was like, how can I get all of this out right now? No, that's a good question. So we have looked at put a letter of intent to lease a couple of different places in the Ypsi area, and we are going back and forth between, do we need like a full kitchen right now, or do we need something that's similar to like a cafe kind of kitchen that doesn't necessarily have like a vent hood and things like that, because we have our food truck, so we can run the gas off of that. We can run, off of a hot pot. So we're working also with some of the folks from the health department to see like what legally we can do in the space to be able to serve the most amount of people while we're waiting for the space at Growing Hope to be built. The other thing is that when the warming center is over, it's been lovely that our showers have been at the Freight House, and I don't know if that's like the best space for them to be when the season is over. And so we're going to need a space for our showers, because there's still no public showers in Ypsilanti. And so when we go back to our folks who are tent camping in the area here in Ypsi Township, they're still going to need a place to shower and wash their laundry. And other than Solidarity House, which is the home of hospitality down the street, there's not really a space for that to be. So if we could have a physical location, we are kind of looking, where could we, park our trailer and hook that up? And, Growing Hope has offered, their spot again, and we have taken it over there when we've done our lift up services, but it's probably not ideal to like have that trailer right there as construction is going on, all like right in the same space. So we're looking for, a building that we could do some modifications on, possibly to be able to offer some of those services, or a kitchen that's already built out, or kind of anywhere in between. We also have looked a lot into building like a shipping container kitchen or spaces like that. And I mean, in just a couple of months, it's already going to be warm again. So we don't necessarily need something that is completely inside, like an inside restaurant space. So we're open to whatever ideas come to folks. And we're pretty creative at Fed Up. So we've been able to make things work by, this is what you get and you don't pitch a fit. And we're like, okay, let's turn that into, something that's delicious for folks. Right. So we're able to do that in every realm of our work.
Mayor Pro Tem, you had a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question in terms of the temporary space and thinking about places around the city that be suitable. I mean, but I'm drawing a blank at this point. So,
Yeah, well, keep thinking about it though, because I'm sure something might come to one of us.
Yes. further questions from council or comments?
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much. All right. Okay, so it's fed up, wash up, lift up. I had not heard all of those, so thank you. All right, cool. Very cool. All right, well, this is our first opportunity for public comment. You'll have 3 minutes to address council. As you approach the podium, if you could state your name and your address if you feel so comfortable. I also would like to just set some expectations around how we're going to communicate with council. We want to talk to each other respectfully and respect the other members of the audience who are going to give comment. This is not going to be a back and forth. Council will not respond to comments that are given, but council does have the opportunity to give a response at the end if someone wants to respond back to a question or comment that is made. And so I'll start with the list, and I'll see if there are hands, and then we will move to Zoom. So Cornelius Williams. Oh, you just signed up. Yeah, okay. Matt Strang. Oh, Cornelius is not here. He was here. Okay. Good evening.
Yeah, hi, my name is Matt Strang. Yeah, Corn was here. He had to go. He had an emergency. So, my name is Matt. I'm here on behalf of Decrim Nature about the decriminalization of psychedelics resolution. I guess just real quick, so I'm a person in recovery from substance use. And that's my perspective coming from this. So I was on opioids for like 10 years. I've been in recovery in this community. I came here through like Dawn Farms, transitional housing, and I used psychedelics like microdose while I was there, and I was able to get my depression under control. I wouldn't even identify with having depression. So this is my perspective, and this is I want other people to have the opportunity to get relief like I did. It's been 2.5 years now. And I'm still active in the recovery community. I see this as a step going forward to kind of roll out psychedelic therapy, right? We need to do decriminalization. We need to protect the social workers doing the work. We need to get some infrastructure built. So I'm just coming here just in support of the resolution, and I just wanted to say hi and my perspective.
Thank you so much. David Wilhoit. Is he with UMS? Yes. Okay, that's what I thought. Laurel was too, and Cayenne, of course. So Eileen Freed. Good evening.
So my name is Eileen Freed. I live at 2575 Bedford Grove, which is in Ann Arbor. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak tonight, and thank you for your service to the citizens of Ypsilanti. I am a resident of Ann Arbor, and I'm also privileged to serve as the executive director of the Jewish Federation of Greater Ann Arbor. Our work focuses on philanthropy, engagement, and convening of the religiously, racially, and economically diverse Washtenaw County Jewish community around important communal issues. Sadly, much of our attention and resources lately have been utilized to address growing anti-Semitism and security threats to our congregations and our organizations. I was moved to speak this evening because of the experience of members of our community at last week's City Council meeting. While watching the video, I was appalled to see speakers from our community who did not agree with the majority of the large crowd shouted down and intimidated, so much so that you had to call a recess and that they left out of concern for their safety. Sorry, my computer's not working. Over the past few weeks, I've seen a disturbing lack of civil discourse at local city council meetings. I've seen people who lament being silenced, silencing those with whom they do not agree. I've seen people who are justifiably concerned about the well-being of their relatives and friends in Gaza, demonstrating a remarkable, even intense lack of compassion for others who are also grieving and worried about their relatives and friends in Israel, or those still being held hostage in Gaza, as my friend Keith Siegel is. I've seen people justify the murder, rape, and taking of hostage of men, women, children, and the elderly by a recognized terror organization as an acceptable, even desirable act of resistance to Israeli occupation, or worse, denying that these events actually happened. And I have witnessed personal invective against city council people trying to express their concerns for all citizens. The behavior and language displayed by people who say they feel unsafe and unwelcome fosters fear and intimidation, making other members of this community feel unsafe and unwelcome. I am committed as you are to the principle of free speech, but just because speech is legal doesn't mean it's not rude, disrespectful, and at times anti-Semitic. Additionally, the lack of procedures for public comment means that this council's business on behalf of its citizens can be hijacked by unruly crowds who may or may not represent the views of the community writ large. I wonder if this body might consider adopting sensible procedures for public comment that would allow for the conduct of city business. Additionally, I suggest you might consider adopting some sort of code of conduct for speech and behavior to ensure that all citizens can be seen and heard without being scared to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. She was the last that I had actually signed up today. So if there's anyone in the audience who would like to address council, please raise your hand. Is there anyone on Zoom?
Start with Cornelius W.
Oh, hi, Corn. Good evening.
Hey, are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. I'm in the vehicle, so I really wanted to be there in person. But I got a text message from my best friend's mother saying that he overdosed tonight and is currently in the hospital on a ventilator. And so I'm on my way to McLaren and Lapeer. And so this was a opioid overdose. I very much sympathize with what's going on overseas, but we have a crisis level of substance use issues right now in our own state and in our city that needs to be addressed. So the last time that I spoke with you guys, you know, I gave you just a fraction of the evidence, the research that supports that these entheogenic medicines, these plant medicines can help to mitigate problematic substance use and help to reduce negative health outcomes from substance use disorders. This is something that if there's anything we can do to slow down the rate of people that are dying right here in our own backyard, we need to be making moves towards that. I can't stress enough how important this is. You just had, you know, one of my colleagues speak to you about his experiences with opioid use disorder and how these plant medicines helped him. I really urge you in making this decision to take a look at the evidence, take a look at the research, and make a decision that's going to help us save people here at home. It's really, you know, what goes on in the rest of the world is very important, and at the end of the day, we do need to focus on that. But this is something really real that is happening right here in our backyard. So I was going to spend my time to address you guys today to talk about deficits in criminalization and the idea that the Washtenaw County Prosecutor's Office has already agreed not to prosecute this. And so criminalizing people in Ypsilanti, especially with the BIPOC community that we have here, it doesn't make any sense. But this is, people are dying and need help. And this is a form of treatment that we know works. And so I really urge you guys to move forward with this resolution. And hopefully at the next hearing, I will be able to be there in person. So I appreciate your guys' patience. And again, I'm sorry I wasn't there to speak in person, but this is just, it's tragic what's happening in our community around opioid use disorder, and anything that we can do to make a difference, we responsibly need to be doing.
Thank you, Corn. And I hope your friend is okay, and please drive safely. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Next is Decriminalize Nature.
Good evening.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Hello, I appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. Thank you very much to the Ypsilanti City Council for having the courage to introduce this very important resolution to decriminalize entheogenic plants and fungi. My name is Dr. Larry Norris. I grew up in the Metro Detroit area and I am an alumni of University of Michigan, Ann Arbor with a degree in biopsychology and cognitive neuroscience in 1998. I currently live in the San Francisco Bay Area and just received my doctorate on the transformative healing potential of ayahuasca experiences, one of the plants on the resolution and integration. I am also the co-founder of Decriminalize Nature, which began in Oakland, California, and unanimously passed this resolution in June of 2019. Since then, 27 cities have passed similar policy nationwide, almost all unanimous decisions. Washington, D.C. passed with 76% voter approval, and Detroit, Michigan passed a similar initiative with 61% voter approval. There are over 50 active Decriminalize Nature teams across the nation, and we have become a global movement with a growing presence in 5 other countries, including France, South Africa, Mexico, the UK, and Chile. Over the 4.5 years since Oakland, California decriminalized, and in the subsequent 27 cities across the US that have passed, we have not seen any increases in reports of emergencies or crime related to entheogens in any of these locations. In fact, decriminalization has worked as a risk reduction strategy, and more people are able to find the education, resources, and support they need. Those who are new to entheogens will be able to educate themselves within community on safe and responsible practices. As more and more scientific research and media talk about the benefits of entheogens, people will naturally want to see what this is all about. Rather than perpetuate a system causing fear and anxiety around police encounters, perhaps it is time to try another approach, one that honors the self-agency and sovereignty of adults and the unalienable right to have their own relationship with nature. It is important to note that entheogens are not party drugs and are rarely, if ever, are found in these situations, such as ayahuasca, cacti, iboga. These are sacred plants and most often done in a ceremonial or intentional manner for healing and personal and spiritual growth. When we talk about public and personal safety, it is important to note relative risk. Some of the drugs that have the highest risk for public safety are already legal, including alcohol, tobacco, and pharmaceuticals. There are no laws against eating as many poisonous mushrooms as one wants. Even taking selfies have a higher rate of injury and death than all of these entheogens combined in the resolution. On the other hand, natural materials such as mushrooms containing psilocybin are considered by many studies to be some of the safest. And while there is always risk for anything, when these plants and fungi can help with suicidality, depression, anxiety, and substance use disorders, isn't it worth decriminalizing these natural entheogens that could help our communities? Ypsilanti can be a leader in this movement, joining a strong network of supportive communities in Denver, Oakland, Detroit, Ann Arbor, Ferndale, Hazel Park, Washtenaw County, Seattle, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, and Santa Cruz, among others who have already decriminalized. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on the topic. Thank you very much to Decriminalize Nature Ypsilanti, Corn, and Matt, and the Ypsilanti City Council for considering the resolution.
Thank you.
Next is Cheryl Farmer.
Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to say I appreciate all of you on council who voted to rescind the offer to purchase 599 Mansfield. I think that was a very wise decision. And now I hope we can look as a community toward finding more practical, more cost-effective solutions to whatever issues they're having at the DPS yard. So happy holidays to all. Signing off.
Thank you.
Next is Kat Ipsy Civic Education and Action.
Good evening.
Good evening, council and mayor. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, hello, I'm Kat. I'm one of the organizers for Ipsy Civic Education and Action. Our Instagram is ipsyypsi.civic, in case anyone is interested in getting involved. I just want to connect and uplift the need to support Fed Up Ministry and Growing Hopes in their efforts of wanting to do food and recreational support for the unhoused and housing unstable in Ipsy. And I also want to connect that to the recent community benefits agreement that was passed with Avalon Housing's new development for 206 North Washington, and how that can be relatable to the amending Chapter 58 part of the agreement for them to further focus on housing affordability and accessibility. So looking forward to seeing how those two things can be connected. I also would like to acknowledge that those who did vote to rescind their offer on 599 South Mansfield. I think it's important to also acknowledge the folks who and the reasons why individuals voted to purchase 599 South Mansfield in the first place. And context is important. Again, going back to the metaphor of it's important to start from the beginning of a book rather than the middle of the story. And since there is a closed session today regarding the negotiations of a collective bargaining unit agreement for the police officers of Ypsi City Police. I'd also like to acknowledge that at the protest or at the city council meeting where there was a disruption last week or last time, there was police sirens startling, and as a person who was there standing in the street with a person who was wearing a hijab, having her hands in the air to prevent herself from and letting her people know that she is okay and not a threat, I was pushed unprovoked from an Ypsi police officer. And I want to just acknowledge and name that community policing is something that Ypsi Police Department has been saying and Ypsi City Council has been saying they're wanting to do. And I just want to affirm that that is not an example of community policing. And keep that in mind when you're doing your negotiations for your collective bargaining unit. And also please vote to decriminalize nature and also support decriminalizing euthanogenic plants and fungi for City of Ypsi residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no other hands raised on Zoom. If you are on Zoom and you haven't spoken yet and you would like to, please press the raise hand button. And while I give that last call for that, there was a comment asked to be read into the record. It's quite long, so I'm going to read as much as I can in 3 minutes. This is Carolyn Normandin from West Bloomfield. Dear Mayor Brown, on behalf of the Anti-Defamation League of Michigan, I write to express my deep concern regarding the anti-Israel resolution and subsequent rhetoric that was a part of the Ypsilanti City Council meeting on November 21st. We are also disappointed in the inflammatory rhetoric from Councilwoman Desiree Simmons, who during her personal comments put forth a false flag by saying the story is changing and equating the real terror, rape, and murder initiated by Hamas on October 7th to misinformation about weapons of mass destruction during the Bush administration. The only part of the story that has changed is the additional evidence of the brutality of that day. It is shameful that the only mention of the October 7th attack on Israeli civilians in the Ypsilanti City Council's resolution was in the 17th paragraph of a 20-paragraph resolution. Using inaccurate terms like ethnic cleansing, genocide, concentration camp, and apartheid, and alleging Israel is implementing collective punishment in response to the attack is unfair and not based in reality. This is a war Israel neither started nor wanted. We asked the Ypsilanti City Council to prepare a more just and inclusive resolution, and we asked that Trustee Simmons apologize for her comments, which provide fodder and dog whistles to anti-Semitic people. On October 7th, the barbaric anti-Semitic terrorist organization Hamas committed the most lethal massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, brutally murdering 1,200 civilians, injuring more than 4,500, including men, women, and children, and kidnapping more than 240 people, 135 of which are still held captive in Gaza by terrorists. The rhetoric in the Ypsilanti resolution is divisive and one-sided. Two things can be true. Our hearts break at the loss of innocent life in both Israel and Gaza, and the worsening humanitarian crisis unfolding in Gaza. At the same time, we can hold Hamas accountable for deliberately placing themselves among civilians and thus putting innocent Palestinians in harm's way in pursuit of their nefarious goals. ADL was founded in 1913 with a timeless mission to protect the Jewish people and to secure justice and fair treatment for all. As an organization dedicated to fighting anti-Semitism and hate, we have seen how tensions in the Middle East lead to an increase in anti-Semitism at home. Since October 7th, we have documented more than 2,000 anti-Semitic incidents of assault, vandalism, and harassment across the U.S. This represents more than a 300% increase year over year. In Michigan, we have witnessed a dramatic spike in anti-Semitic incidents. Jewish institutions have received hateful voice messages. Synagogues have been sent bomb threats. Vandals have targeted Jewish community buildings and a cemetery. Jewish business owners have been targeted. Swastikas and other vulgarities have been painted on doorways of Jewish buildings, artifacts, and homes. And anti-Semitic bullying is happening in K-12 schools and on college campuses. These are difficult times. While there is a disagreement over the current situation, council members must do their best to uplift civil, informed, and respectful discussions, no matter how cantankerous an issue is. This is a time when we should be calling out both anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim hate, and the Ypsilanti City Council members should be seeking to bring the community together rather than being divisive with one-sided resolutions. I offer my help. I have attached links to resources below, and I am willing to answer any questions you or city council members may have. I could also suggest additional material if you would like. And then she gives her phone number and the links that she mentioned.
Good job, Erin. Thank you. Good job. Good job. You did. All right. Are there other members in the audience who did not have a chance to speak who would like to, or anyone else on Zoom?
There is one hand on Zoom if there's nobody in the audience. Okay, so Chris Carroll.
Good evening.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Good. Just calling in from College Heights. I just want to say thank you so much for filling the pothole in over on Cornell. Pretty positive response from most of the neighborhood regarding that. And hopefully that will fix things for a little while. There's definitely a lot of support for the nature initiative. Aside from what we've heard about recovery benefits, myself and several of my friends spread out across the country have all discussed how important it is in therapies coming up, that it really just, it's just amazing the things that they figured out at some of these massively large hospital institutions. The research is just astounding on what we can achieve with it. So yeah, I think that's, positive things for our community if we invite that in for sure, and open that up to practitioners. I mean, that's a good opportunity for us to see, possibly more private practices opening and things of that nature. So definitely some positive things there. I was really excited to hear about the Fed Up and all that. That sounds like, they're moving forward, and those are all good positive things for the community. And I think that's going to really help tackle a lot of the things that we're concerned about as far as, what's happening with our underserved citizens. So yeah, a lot of good things. Thanks again for, pushing off the DPS situation. I know that we were all, really had heavy heads about that. And, I hope we can all work together to find, some serious resolutions for them, especially, during the winter time and all that. Nobody wants to work in an unsafe environment. And I think, we can hopefully reach out through the community and find some really good resources to keep the workers safe and keep things moving forward so that we can, keep our community benefits together. So anyway, thank you so much for your time, and have a good holiday, everybody.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Last call for Zoom.
Last call for the audience. Oh, you are? Yep, you can come back.
So, my name is Anna Taylor McCants. I'm a Ypsilanti Township resident. I am reading Julius Buzzard's comment. He's receiving an award at the Sierra Club right now. So Julius Buzzard, Executive Director of Growing Hope. He said, "It might go without saying, but I want to go on record as giving full support to Fed Up Ministries as they work toward building a coalition of support for meeting the basic needs of many of our most vulnerable community members. And I express sincere gratitude to the mayor and council members for committing to collective solutions for the future of our community. I look forward to further conversations."
Thank you. Thank you. All right. If there are no other members of the audience who want to give comment, I will.
There's one.
I saw you. Oh, okay.
Hugo.
Hey, hello. My name is Hugo Joso. I used to live in Ypsilanti. I moved to the Wayne County, but I still have family and friends living in Ypsilanti. So I will encourage you to please look at the resolution of the criminalization and please vote in favor. I have been witness of people, not only for the rehabilitation from drug abuse, as it has been said before, but also for other kinds of psychological issues like depression and just overall mood and understanding of how their mind works. So please really consider that and vote in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last call. All right, seeing none, public comment is closed. Okay. So if council has anything they would like to say in response to public comment, this would be the time, or you can save it for your proposed business. All right, Councilmember Tucson, you have our first resolution.
Indeed, resolution number 2023-246, resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti that the minutes of the December 5th, 2023 city council meetings be approved, and I so move.
Support.
Moved and supported. Clerk Smith, please call the roll.
Councilmember Tucson,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember King,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet.
Yes.
6 yeses, the motion carries.
Thank you. Councilmember Sweet, you have our next resolution.
Resolution number 2023-247, resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti that the attached letter of agreement be approved with the city manager and the chief of police as authorized signatories, and I so move.
Support.
Moved and supported. Is there any additional conversation?
If I could add one thing on the
Yes.
resolution, could someone make a friendly amendment to say that the agreement is subject to the approval of
Can you guys make that friendly?
Lost the last part of it.
the agreement is subject to approval by the city attorney.
It was you two? So
Move to make a friendly amendment that this agreement is subject to approval by the city attorney's office.
do you agree?
Support. Yes, I agree.
You agree, all right. Friendly amendment added there, subject to the approval of the city attorney. Further discussion or questions from council?
I
Councilmember Simmons?
Yeah, I just quick, I'm just looking at like what things are in here in terms of what people know that we're approving. Is there already information about that or
The letter?
things that we should share as we get ready to vote on this?
I don't know, city manager, chief.
You should not speak towards anything that was discussed in closed session.
That's what I
I would
thought.
defer to the city attorney. Yep.
Okay.
So.
But not until later, or I'm just looking at what we have in our packet.
You can discuss the
letter
that was provided on the second page.
So the second part, the letter.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just read it.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
All
Yeah.
right, I'll just read it. It's from the chief, from the union president, the city of Ypsilanti, hereinafter the employer and the Police Officers Association of Michigan, the union, have met concerning an issue which has arisen regarding attachment B of the current CBA. And accordingly, the parties have entered into the following memorandum of understanding, whereas the employer and the union have discussed the need to retain current police officers at YPD. Now therefore, both parties mutually agree. All eligible road patrol officers shall be subject to P01-6 pay for the January 1st, 2024 pay scale. This pay is $80,951.66. This memorandum of understanding shall be considered a one-time adjustment and to take effect in January of 2024 by the order of the chief of police. Questions, discussion of anything that was not discussed in the session? Councilmember Simmons. We can't talk about what was talked about in the closed session, so. Right, but not the details of the closed session, sorry.
I don't know what to say, but I wanted to talk about like where the funds are coming from, like, and things of that sort. I'm kind of like afraid to say anything at this point because it all is like what we talked about in the closed session, but I think this is just important for people to know both like what it is that we're voting on as well as where the money is coming from.
The funds will be used from salary of positions that have not been filled. So the money is already budgeted. It would not require a budget adjustment.
Further questions? Discussion. All right. Seeing none, Clerk Smith, please take the roll or call the roll, sorry.
Councilmember Simmons,
Pass.
Councilmember King,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons.
Yes.
Yeses, the motion carries.
Thank you. All right, we're on to our discussion. Welcome back, Barbie. Of our city manager candidates and interviews. I will let you lead us through what you need from us this evening.
Good to see you again.
Yes, thank you.
And I brought a special guest. This is Amy Sell herself, so.
Hey.
Yes.
Oh, hello, Amy Sell. Good evening. All right.
All right.
Mhm.
We got important business to do.
Mhm.
Okay, so I thought we could start by doing, taking a vote, maybe like a straw vote. So I'll go down and say candidate number one, if you're in favor of having them brought in for an interview, raise your hand.
Oh,
I mean,
Wait,
Talking about.
wait, hold on.
Oh.
Hold on, everybody. Everybody. Okay, 1 second. What were you gonna ask?
I just wanted to know how many candidates can we bring forward?
As many as we want. We're the council. we could bring them all if we wanted to. Councilmember Simmons, are you gonna say something too? Or is that the same question?
it was the same question in terms of what I remember you saying how many we should like focus on or aim for to bring in, but I can't remember what you said.
Yeah, we usually say 4-ish, 3, 4, but if there's someone you want to talk to and there's no harm in bringing them into interview, it's just more information that you'll gather and get to know them more.
Councilmember Tucson, you had a question?
I answered my own question.
Okay. All right. Everybody wanted to get at it at once. Okay.
Did you do it in the third person?
I did.
Okay. So
Are you ready to do a vote or do you want to?
we're building consensus.
Okay.
Can
Okay,
I ask one
just wanna-
question?
Yes, please.
So I just wanted to know, are any of the applicants the people you reached out to?
I believe one of them was. Yep. And we did go back and reach out to those that I had mentioned last meeting. A lot of them were in process of interviewing for other communities. We did lose 2 at the last minute. Unfortunately, we had 8, so we're at 6 right now.
And Councilmember Simmons stated, do you know which number? You say you think 1.
I believe 3, number
Okay.
3.
Thank you.
All right. I just wanted, for clarity, we're building consensus.
Correct.
All right. Please go ahead.
So again, I will just ask if you're in favor of the number candidate that I say, just raise your hand, leave them up there for a second so we can count.
So Bar, is that okay?
This is like our first.
I guess the reason why I keep saying consensus is because it feels like a vote. Okay. Yes. Mhm. Okay, perfect. Correct. Also, is there something we can get for you? Okay. Do you need a cough drop, Mr. Barr? Are you okay? Okay. Oh, no, you don't have to apologize. I just want to make sure you're okay. Do you need something? Okay. Okay. Barbie, I'm sorry. Please continue. All right.
All right, ready?
Mhm.
Okay. If you are in favor of bringing candidate number 1 into interview, raise your hand. Great. Okay, how about candidate number 2? So we just have 1, right? Okay. Candidate number 3? Candidate number 4? Candidate number 5? Okay, 1. And candidate number 6? 3?
I honestly don't remember. This is in a different order than I looked at them, so now that name, yeah. Okay.
Do you want me to go back and read through them again?
Nope, I know all the others, but
Okay.
I don't want to say what I want to say because their identities are not. But yes. On that one.
Candidate number 6?
Yeah.
So 4 for 6? Okay. Okay, so top.
Something that would give us 4.
We've got 2 candidates with 6, 1 candidate with 5, 1 candidate with 4, 2 candidates with 1. So there's kind of a strong tier. So I think we're bringing in the top 4 candidates might be a nice number.
You say the numbers again? Can you repeat the numbers?
Number
She was-
1, 3, 4, and 6 were the top. Gain 4 in areas of interest or more.
Okay.
So we'll bring the 4.
So we will interview 4 candidates. And just to reiterate, it was number 1, number 3, number 4, and number 6. Correct? Yes, that's our next order of business. We need to pick a date.
The hardest
How
date
many
and time.
How would it be multiple dates? Like, is it 1 per, or we'd have multiple per on one day?
A day, please.
Yeah, so
Yes.
usually one day.
Okay.
And with 4 candidates to interview, they could be like 50-minute interviews with a 10-minute break in between. And that's for council interviews. So we can also do staff panel interviews, and that could be earlier in the day with key department heads for input, and we would have evaluation forms. We'll also have evaluation forms for you, but for staff as well, and that way they can what's the word I'm looking for?
Provide the feedback.
Provide feedback based on, rubric qualities that we had came up with in the beginning. Mhm.
Oh, go ahead. You had a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I would love if there were a staff panel. I think that's a great idea. So I would love if that can get worked in. And then I also know, so we're going to look at dates, but I know that you have said something, we were talking about questions, and I haven't had a chance to even look at those questions yet, because obviously going through all of the applications. And so I'm sure that we'll talk about the process, or when you need us to send in thoughts for that.
Yeah, I mean, great question. And do we want to pick a date first, and then we can come back and we can talk about the interview process, and we can talk about questions, and if you have questions you want to submit, and I can walk you through that, or we can walk you through that.
Yes, please.
Okay.
So just a reminder to council, we have goal setting on the 9th, 16th, and 23rd. All those meetings start at 6 p.m. And our 2 of them, I believe, are our regularly scheduled meetings, 1 additional. So January is already kind of loaded. There are some other dates that Aaron also provided for us that meetings are being held here that are important dates to keep in mind. And my email, I can't find the email right now, but I remember reading it.
Could read them off right now. if you want.
Yeah, plus we
Thank
have
you.
the Ward 2.
Yep. So
So January 8th, Sustainability Commission, January 9th, Council, January 16th, Goal Session, 17th, Planning Commission, 18th, Ward 2 interviews, 22nd, Parks and Arts Commission, 23rd, Council, 25th, Police Advisory Commission, which does still need to be confirmed on Thursday, but that's probably what they'll pick. And 31st, Human Relations Commission.
So lots of dates in January that are being utilized at this point in time. So I don't know who folks want to throw dates out. I don't want to wait till the end of the month or anything like that, because this is important and we have a lot going on. So the earlier the better, although again, our calendars are pretty jammed. So I'm going to throw a date out just to get us started, and then we can try to figure it out. What about, don't get mad at me. What about, well, okay, wait, how much time do folks need to get here? Because, I don't know how much I can say. So, how much time do you have to give lead up for people to know?
Anytime in January. Oftentimes we
Yeah.
just give people a week and a half.
Okay. All right. Okay. What about January 10th?
That was the date I was gonna say too.
On the Sunday? Well,
It's a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday.
I'm
It's a
looking at
Wednesday.
December. I was like, what?
Take a breath, everybody. It's a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday.
She said on a
I know on a Sun, I would never. On a Wednesday. I mean, we would have council the day before. So keeping that in mind, that'd be back to back nights. I mean, we have done it before. And I think
And this will probably be during some point during the day too, yeah. So
Whatever you would like.
Yeah,
Whatever you
Oh.
feel. It can be during the day, if that works.
so. I would recommend that it is not, because I think this is also a public meeting,
Mhm.
and I would want people to be able to be here for those interviews.
Mhm.
So it would likely be around the 6 or 7 o'clock hour, like we normally start our council meeting, would be my preference.
Well, they might have the other stuff earlier in the, I'm just trying to think about the other parts of
Yeah,
the
because
thing,
maybe
so-
they could do it earlier in the day with the staff, and then
And then we would do,
be a
and then
day for them.
we would have 4, so then it would be like a 6 to 10 kind of thing.
Another option to consider that we've done for other communities is to have, the interviews can be during the day, but then you can have a community reception, like from 5 to 7 PM. where Members of the community can interact with the candidates and ask questions, and they can provide support. So we can include the community in that way as well. If the interviews are at night, then, then sometimes they have to be at night because of the council schedules. So there's a variety of ways that we can make it work.
Okay. I threw my date out, y'all fight over it. I don't know. What I would also add in terms of like I love the idea of having a community reception. My next question to you all would be, then would this be like a multi-day thing that they would come? Because I think that even if we were to have the interviews early in the day, which I think might be hard for those of us who are working, I would still want people to be able to watch those interviews because we record them. And so the reception, I would want enough time for folks to be able to watch that before coming to interact with those individuals. So it would, to me, still require like a 2-day approach if we're going to do a reception for folks. Is that not normal, or is that what you were expecting? Okay.
Yeah.
Take 2 days.
Okay. I'm just shooting for the stars, and then, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Are we expected to choose someone out of those 4 that day, or can we have second round 2 if we needed to?
My recommendation is that there's a few days in between, because we will want to gather the feedback forms from the staff and from council. We will compile the information, we will provide it back to you. All deliberations need to take place at an open meeting. So that, sometimes people schedule a special meeting for a few days afterwards, and not, you had just had a meeting with the prior that week of the 10th, the 9th.
We'd have it the other day before.
We have another one on the 16th.
And the 23rd. We meet every week. We meet every week in January. So we'll be here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Time to reflect and then deliberate.
Okay. So does the 10th feel okay? If folks are interested in the reception piece, that would make this a little different. What are your thoughts?
Fine with the 10th, I mean, either way.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I like the idea of the reception, but I also feel like if we're meeting in the evening, then that doesn't seem like as great. And then also with 4 candidates, it's still kind of early too in some ways. So
does it feel like we'll just do the interviews on the 10th, like a 6 to 10 situation, and then move from there? The 10th, going once, going twice. All right, 6 p.m.
Right, so
Mark it on your calendars, folks. That was easier than I thought, actually.
That was very smooth. One date and it.
Thanks, everybody. Okay, what next do you need from us?
Oh yeah, so for to answer question, yeah, about interview questions. That's a lot of questions in that statement.
So you sent us some that you typically use, and in the email it said we could provide questions that we have.
Correct. So those are just suggested questions based on the qualities that we were assessing the candidates on. You can feel free to come up with your own questions. And if you want to, you can email me if you have questions. You can email me, I can compile them all. As far as interviews, we could do it like a round robin style. So just go down the line, ask one question, circle back for the second one. Usually everyone gets at least a chance to ask 2 questions. So that's an option to do it that way.
Do you typically limit the amount of time for responses from the interviewee because of the time slots?
Not usually.
So if we have somebody who's really long-winded, they could take more than 50 minutes.
We generally try to keep to a time, so sometimes we will start with the same questions to ask. But some people will get through all of them, some people might not get through all of them, depending on how long they talk about it. We try to keep, at least everybody gets the same amount of time.
Okay. My brain. Good.
That lifted up another question for me, but do we need to have all of the same questions, or if there's things that are particular for the different candidates, like can we have ones that are specific, or would that be something that we would ask as follow-up question? Or
I'm very comfortable in asking follow-up questions. If somebody doesn't answer it the way you wanted, going back or asking additional questions, we have provided guidance about inappropriate questions. So we just ask that you keep those in mind, but we understand you might want to get to know different things about the different candidates.
So, I am no expert at this, but I've done my fair share of hiring. And one of the things that has worked really well for me, I would say, is there's like, initial pool of the first few questions that everyone gets asked, and I prioritize those questions. And then if there's follow-up or questions based upon the information I have about the person, then there's room for some of those specifics, just so that I have some baseline information to compare across folks from those same questions that are important for the role, for whatever I'm interviewing for. So that would be the direction I would like to see us going, or we have some questions that are set that we know we are going to ask every single person. And then if time permits, we can go in the other directions. Just my suggestion.
something else that what you have brought up, like I'm wondering, and a lot of, I feel like, my job is not hiring, and yet I feel like I've been doing a lot of it lately. But one of the things too, just in terms of like helping people to get through the questions, I guess it just depends on how much we want to make sure that we hear like all of the same kind of information from folks or not, whether we should have some kind of thing. And sometimes it's like, yeah, we'll just kind of like look at you like, oh, you've been talking about this same thing for like 10 minutes. You might want to move on, so I'm just wondering, I think if there's ways that we can help them to be successful in moving through the questions, I think that would be helpful, even though, I'm sure that some people will be much more truncated in their answers anyway, which means that we might gain some time, in other ways. So I realize that that's a balancing act. But yeah, I was in a session with somebody like that.
Yeah. We'll definitely coach them in advance.
Oh, that's perfect. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they know like about how long they should talk for each.
Yeah, how long they'll have.
That's helpful. Yeah.
All right. Other things about questions from council, or their feedback, ideas, council member suite?
We need to talk tonight about, you mentioned the staff panel part, which I also agree with, like, do we need to identify who those suggested staff should be in regards to reach out to, so that they can reach out to them to schedule those interviews, etc. So
I thought department heads is what I thought, they report directly.
Yeah.
okay.
I was thinking, direct reports to that.
I was too. I just wanted to make sure we are on the same page with like that's what the expectation was. Okay.
And I'm guessing I can work with Aaron and you as far as like those names.
Oh, yep,
just
that's
sort of coordinating. Okay, like
how we've been doing everything. Yep.
Yeah.
And this is a question for you, Aaron, maybe. I know that there's like is there anything that conflicts on Wednesdays for staff? Like, is it Mondays that you all have your department heads meetings?
It's
Bonnie?
normally the Wednesday after the second council meeting.
It's always Wednesday. Oh, but it's after the second one, so it wouldn't be
Yeah,
this
so,
Wednesday.
yeah, it
Okay,
wouldn't be on
all right. Because that should have asked that too when we were picking the date, but yeah, okay. Okay, anything else? This is going smooth. I like it.
Pretty straight.
I mean, it didn't have to be. I've been through this a lot, a few times. Okay. Anything else you need from us?
No, so we have our date, January 10th. We'll do council interviews. We'll do staff panel interviews. Interview questions, if you want to submit, feel free to submit them to me. I will also send an email with evaluation forms. I'll send more emails just as far as follow-up and sort of nice to know information.
I do have one more question. I'm sorry. The staff panel interviews, how are those questions identified? They're not gonna be the same as the council questions, are they, or they are?
Some of them are similar, but we have some specific ones that are.
Okay. Thank you.
And when did you want the questions by?
End of the year.
Oh, that feels like so long, but it's
It feels like so long, but it's
That's next week. Okay.
Yeah, do you send them do they get the questions ahead of time or anything like that?
No, it just that we would have a nice list for you guys. We can always, like you were suggesting, Mayor, like questions that everyone will get asked, we can assign those ahead of time. We can just try to keep it as organized for you and easy as for you as possible.
So, I mean, is it possible for us to have a date that's in January to get them to you? Instead, since we're not sending them ahead of time, just to get past like.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you
the
can send,
holiday
yeah,
break.
absolutely.
Yeah.
A week in advance, a couple days in advance.
Okay.
At work.
Yeah.
So let's say the first week of January, but was that the
Like the
Friday's the
5th?
5th? Is that the
Yeah.
Friday, the 5th? Okay.
Perfect.
Thank
And then we
you.
would finalize the questions at the meeting on the 9th then, if there's multiple submissions. I guess.
Or are they gonna
That's what
put them
you're saying.
together?
How do you
Oh.
identify whose questions we actually ask?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so how about if you all get them to us on Friday the 5th, by close of business Monday the 8th, we can send out a list that suggests the questions and the order.
Okay.
With everybody's, kind of name next to them. So that way there'll be a plan. And if you want to deviate from that plan and ask another question, that's fine, but we'll have a nice kind of. Base point to stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, because I don't want to talk about them in here because then they could watch our meeting.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
They should be watching the meeting.
That part. Okay. So we have a plan.
Our plan.
Well, all right. If there's anything else, please let us know.
Yeah, and I'll confirm with candidates tomorrow, make sure they're still in, get their schedules, and we'll put together an itinerary as well. So.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks so
Perfect.
much.
Thank you very much. All right. We're moving. Okay. Let's keep going. Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen, we have our next resolution. HDC.
48. Resolution number 2023-248, resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti, whereas the Historic District Commission decided that applications can be processed efficiently, meeting once per month with the administrative approvals staff currently has, and whereas the Historic District Commission decided to meet once a month to bring the commission's practices in line with common practice across the state, and whereas the list of proposed rules changes was voted on and approved at 2 different Historic District Commission meetings. Now therefore be it resolved that the attached rules changes are approved and implemented for the Historic District Commission, and I so move.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there staff speaking to us about this? Oh, hi. Good evening.
Hey, everyone. My name is Ellen. You all have met me before. I am the preservation planner here at the city. So I'm happy to answer any questions or give you just an overview of why we decided what we did and what the changes would be.
Can you give us an overview for public good?
Sure.
Thank you.
So the commission currently meets, in our bylaws, the commission meets twice every month. We have been doing for the past 2 years, we've been doing on a test case scenario. We've been doing 6 months of 1 meeting per month and then 6 months sort of in the bigger construction season, if you think about it in Michigan, we've been meeting twice those months. But what we have found is that with staff approvals, this year I've approved almost half of the applications that we've received. And in 2022, I approved a third. So because we have a robust list of administrative approvals so that our homeowners and our property owners don't have to go before the commission, we felt like we would be able to efficiently serve our property owners and go to a once a month meeting. Most commissions, we're the only commission I know of in the state that meets twice a month. So it brings us more in line with state common practice, and we still think we can really serve our property owners well.
Thank you. Questions from council or discussion? It's pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. And there's, just so you know, there's 3 like minor word smithing kind of things. And then the frequency is the other.
Saw some missing words or in there.
Yeah. Just some minor
Clean up.
wordsmithing.
Yeah, cleaning some things up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. If there's no questions or comments from council. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. Clerk Smith, please call the roll.
Councilmember King,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
6 yeses, the motion carries.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, you have our next resolution.
Resolution number 2023-249, resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti, whereas there is a vacancy for council member in Ward 2, and whereas per section 2.05 D3 of the city charter requires that a council member to represent Ward 2 be appointed on or before the third regular council meeting following the vacancy. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ypsilanti City Council approve the application process for Ward 2 vacancy, and I so move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All right. So we have all the pieces in here around the overview of the process that's been used in the past. I don't know if clerk or city manager, there's anything specific you all want us to talk about, or I can just kind of.
This has been the same process that we have followed in the past. Council has any questions or they would like to amend the process in any way, but since the resignation was updated to, I believe, the 11th, now council has to make the appointment no later than January 23rd.
It's okay. All right, January is gonna be busy. So we need to, if everybody's had a chance to review the process, we have to pick some dates, right?
The dates are all.
They're already in the
included.
bottom. Oh, yeah, they are at the bottom. Okay.
It's
It's approving it.
Right.
All right. Do you want me to read them out loud? You want to read this?
And these are the dates. Tuesday, December 19th, during council decides on process and timeline. Wednesday, December 20th at 5 p.m., council candidate application packet / information will be released. Thursday, January 4th at 4 p.m., deadline for council candidate application materials. Thursday, January 4th at 5 p.m., compiled candidate application materials is distributed to council and posted for the public. Monday, January 8th at 5 p.m., deadline for council members to submit interview questions to clerk. Friday, the 12th of January, city clerk informs council of ranking results, including the top 3 candidates. Thursday, January the 18th at 6 p.m., council will hold special meeting to interview and possibly vote on choice among top 3 candidates and potential appointment. Thursday, January 18th, the same day, council will deliberate and vote on choice among top candidates, new council members sworn in if necessary.
I apologize. That last one, the Thursday, January 18th, should be January 23rd.
Tuesday, the
Which will be our meeting.
right, we're during the meeting or in the beginning of the meeting or whatever. Okay. Councilmember Sweet.
And with this timeline, and does the holiday closures of City Hall have any impact on this because these are submitted in person, correct? The
Right,
packets
they have to be submitted in person, so that's why it's the January 4th deadline.
Mhm. Be open again by then. Them.
So I'm just saying we only have then tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. And then that's it until January 3rd and 4th. So only 5 days of in-person submission options, right?
You have 5 days to submit, but it'll
I'm just
elongated time to
clarifying.
actually prepare it.
Prepare it, so you
Okay.
can get here, yeah, I'm okay with that. Other questions, comments from council about the process?
Yeah, I'm wondering, I'm just thinking about, uh-oh, I have a sneeze. Woo. Okay. Um, uh, I'm wondering just in terms of thinking about like the appointment. So I know that there's the possibility of doing it on the same day as the interviews. Although the recent examples that it has happened during the following council meeting. And I know like it's always helpful, like to be able to digest what people say. Also gives people a chance to give feedback based on the interviews. And so I'm just kind of wanting to put forward that we actually commit to voting on it during that January 23rd meeting, as opposed to the possibility of doing it on the day of the interviews.
Totally think that's reasonable.
So I'm just saying that there's
I think that's
support.
what we've typically done that recently anyway. Received, I feel it. I agree.
Yeah, I'm just saying like, because I don't know if that's because that would be an amending of like the expectations of it and like kind of what's on the table. So I get that.
I mean, it says possibly, and I mean, it's always said that in this process, and then we, as a body, have decided that, you know, we're gonna digest it. So, I mean, if you want to amend it and remove that, I mean, you can, or we could just agree that we're gonna do that. I feel like that's okay.
Didn't the city manager just make that change?
No, he changed the date. The date was duplicated on here, so he corrected the date, which already said, yeah, those two things that we're talking about.
And I can remove the potential appointment and if
Right.
necessary from the time.
Okay. Further questions? All right, seeing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember King,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
6 yeses, the motion carries.
All right, everybody. Application's going live tomorrow, correct? Yeah. All right, next we have the discussion on the decriminalization of nature ordinance. And so I'm just gonna open the floor because I feel like we had the presentation, we had some comment. Who wants to get started?
I can just say right quick. So basically wanted to kind of bring this forward in part because this would be require an ordinance change, which means there has to be a public meeting and everything like that. And so I just wanted to have an opportunity for us to kind of talk about it and just make sure like kind of thinking about this process and what questions that we, you know, might need to prepare for. And also just to get it on the in the public sphere so that people can be able to comment on it or things like that, you know, in terms of hearing from our residents about concerns and things that we should bring into the conversation.
Oh, thank you. I will say that since the presentation, I've heard from several residents already who are in support and would like to see us do this. And so whatever the steps that we need to take next, which means I think presenting this as a ordinance or first reading, I would be in support of.
Mr. Barr, if I could ask clarification on something. I don't know if an ordinance would do that, but I do recall in 2012 when marijuana was decriminalized, it had to go to a vote of the people. Is that not necessary? I don't know the history, if it was an initiatory petition to get council to put it on a ballot or. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And this is the same, it's for lowest priority is the language here too, yeah. All right. Further comments or questions from council or in this discussion, I guess, because we're not voting on this right now.
The only other thing I would probably want to add in something to name support for the Senate bill that's at the state level that our state senator Jeff Erwin put forward. So that would just be an addition I would make to
For
this.
The language.
Hmm?
When we bring forth the language, we could add that.
Yeah.
Well, if it's an ordinance, that wouldn't be included in the ordinance. That would be a separate resolution.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, you mean just the
Correct. Just a resolution in support of that bill. That wouldn't be.
I see.
Oh,
I see.
okay.
So it's
ordinances.
it doesn't have to be in the it shouldn't be in okay.
Perpetually. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
We can do that for sure. I would love to send some support for.
So maybe we could do both.
Further
Can we
No, no, you're good. Yeah.
I'm just saying if we want to do that, is that something can staff create make a resolution to say that? Great.
I feel like in conjunction with this, it could be pretty short.
Yeah. I don't think
yeah.
it's long.
Yeah.
I'm just mainly making sure that I'm not going to.
Have to write it yourself. Okay. Further discussion from council? Oh, Mayor Pro Tem?
Oh, I guess sorry, I missed that part of the conversation, but I take from that we're putting forward an ordinance, not a deprioritization resolution and then having a resolution to support the state bill. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, all right, this is short, good discussion. If everybody's good, we'll move on then.
Yep.
All right. Councilmember Simmons, you have our next resolution.
Okay, resolution number 2023-250, resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti that a deadline or due date be established to add or significantly change items to a city council agenda. The due date will be 1 p.m. on the Friday before a regular Tuesday meeting. New items will be added to a meeting's agenda. New items can still be added to a meeting's agenda at the table during the agenda approval process of each meeting. I so move.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Discussion. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thinking back, I seem to recall that when I first came on council, we got our packets on Thursdays.
So not exactly. When you came on, once I became city clerk, then I started working with the software and we did receive it on Thursdays, but that's never been necessarily a rule. And with the staff levels at what they are, that's why it's kind of been pushed back to Friday. I mean, we could definitely get it back on Thursday moving forward once we're at full strength.
I remember I used to get a packet at my house, all the papers. I'm so glad that's not my life anymore.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Like,
And guess what? I got on council in 2014. It wasn't like it was, I'm not gonna say a year because I don't want to offend anyone, but this is good. I'm saying. Okay. Further discussion or questions from council? I appreciate this. All right. Well, seeing none, city clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen,
yes.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember King,
Yes.
6 yeses, the motion carries.
Thank you. Councilmember King, you have our next resolution.
Resolution number 2023-251, resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti that the rate of pay for election inspectors be permanently raised to $19 per hour, and the rate of pay for precinct chairpersons be permanently raised to $20 per hour. I so move.
Been moved and supported. Clerk, got anything for us on this?
Yes, just some quick numbers for you. When we were still at 10 precincts, kind of ideal staffing would involve about 130 election inspectors and chair people combined. With the consolidation that we approved last meeting, we can go down to somewhere closer to 91 as kind of ideal staffing. Paying $13 an hour times 130 people times 15-hour day was about $25,350. $19 times 91 people times 15 hours is 25,950. So it basically pays for itself. And we can invest in these folks who work really hard for us. Their day is nearly as long as the clerk staff's day on elections. We've got people who've been doing this for years and even decades, and we are totally dependent and grateful, and they deserve more than what we've been giving them.
Thank you. Councilmember Simmons?
So my question, so just based on the materials that we had, it kind of went through and showed like the amounts from some of our neighbors. And so I was just wondering about like how this range was selected, the 20, from 14 to 20 and from 13 to 19, in terms of how it falls in line with the other ones on our list.
I know that not so long ago, I think maybe 10 years ago, Ypsilanti was the highest, or at least one of the highest paying for election inspectors in the county. As you can see from the numbers here, we're now among the lowest. I wanted us to be among the highest again. Kind of as simple as that.
Councilmember Sweet?
Do we anticipate or have we had issues with recruiting chairs versus inspectors, given the only $1 difference? Like, has that been a struggle at all, or not necessarily?
Most of the chairs are happy to do it. They see it as an honor. We've had a lot of the same folks doing it repeatedly. I think enjoy might be too strong a word, but they keep coming back. So as far as like feeling like they deserve more than inspectors, I don't think that's an issue really.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments from council about this?
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I know you kind of gave the numbers in terms of the amounts, and so that takes into account like just any of the different extensions of like early voting and all of those different kinds of things too.
So early voting is county run, where it's the numbers I gave you are purely for election days.
For election day. Okay.
Thank you for your work on this.
Mhm.
If there are no further comments or questions, please call the roll.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember King,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen.
Yes.
6 yeses, the motion carries, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Sweet, you have our next resolution.
Resolution number 2023-252, resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti that the following residents be appointed to the city of Ypsilanti boards and commissions as indicated below. John Van Bolt Historic District Commission. And I so move.
Support.
Been moved and supported. This is a reappointment.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. I guess I wasn't saying it as a question. My bad. This is a reappointment. Are there any comments or questions? Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sweet,
Yes.
Mayor Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember King,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Councilmember Tucson.
Yes.
6 yeses, the motion carries.
Thank you. Councilmember Tucson, you have our last resolution.
I do indeed. Resolution number 2023-253 is resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti, whereas the city of Ypsilanti Police Department desires to replace 2 police vehicles with 2023 Ford Explorers. And whereas the city of Ypsilanti Police Department was allocated $100,000 in fiscal year 2022 to 2023 budget for the purchase of 1 or 2 vehicles, and whereas Varsity Ford Michigan has provided state of Michigan bid pricing in the amount of $48,952.03 and $46,418.10. And whereas there will be additional saving as a result of 2 police Ford Taurus vehicles traded in, and whereas the purchase was made from account 641.7.9330-987-10, therefore be it resolved that the chief of police be authorized to sign all necessary documents needed to execute the vehicle purchase, and I
Support.
Moved and supported. Or you got anything you want to tell us? Yes, good evening, again.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. Just to bring additional savings, the official numbers for the first vehicle is going to be 46,937, and the second vehicle is going to be 44,403. The police, yes, that's definitely some savings. The police department has some aging fleet. We are being creative in how we utilize our fleet. Our 2 parking enforcement vehicles are literally on their last leg, and we have been spending significant money to keep them operating. What we're going to do, we have 2 investigations vehicles. We're getting magnets made that will say Park Enforcement, City of Ypsilanti, so we can get some dual purpose out of those vehicles, so that they can be utilized, because they're utilized now by parking enforcement when the other ones are down. So we utilize those vehicles for parking enforcement, and then when we have other needs for unmarked vehicles, we'll use them in that capacity as well. We will be moving some other unmarked into investigations. And then, of course, at the next budget cycle, we'll purchase an additional 2 vehicles, also utilizing the aging fleet, selling those back, getting additional discounts, allowing us to essentially get the 2 vehicles, per cycle. And so my goal is to have the fleet current, all with Ford Explorers by 2025.
We love cost savings.
Definitely cost
love
savings.
discounts.
And because we have spent significant money in maintenance of our vehicles, and best because we've kept vehicles beyond their reasonable span of life. So we have to recognize when we get to the point where it's better to sell, so that we can get some return on investment and utilize that to augment our fleet budget.
What is the like, when you talk about like the lifespan of the cars, like what does that typically look like? Because I'm trying to remember when when council last when there were last cars purchased.
So currently, the parking enforcement vehicle has 109,000, and the other has almost 100,000 miles on them. Since I've been here on those 2 vehicles, I've spent over $5,000 in repair and maintenance on those 2 vehicles. On the other vehicles, we spent much more. So, collectively. So we're looking at our vehicles that are the oldest in our fleet, over some, quite frankly, almost 10 years old, and they're kind of going beyond their useful span of life. And this, quite frankly, becomes a liability on the city because those vehicles aren't as serviceable as we like them to be.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
So what's the difference between the vehicles for road patrol and parking enforcement?
So the parking enforcement vehicles are usually hand-me-down vehicles that have gone from marked units from road patrol to some investigations, and then to parking enforcement. So when they get them, they're pretty used. So we're getting all of the life out of them that we can. And so we want to try to pay a little bit more attention to that process. Those vehicles are extremely old. They're costing us a lot of money. They're worn, and quite frankly, they look terrible. They're a bad representation of the city. And so we're being creative so that we can get multiple uses out of vehicles now.
Okay, I was just wondering if there's in the future, smaller vehicles, I mean, if you're driving around town doing parking enforcement,
So-
you don't need the same vehicle that you need. for
Absolutely.
Other things too.
That's
Electric
a-
vehicles would be great, but you know,
That's a fantastic point. And to that point, the vehicles that we will be utilizing, they are Ford Fusions and not full-size police package vehicles.
Yeah.
So we are reducing that.
I was thinking more of a Fiesta.
Yeah. Like I'm talking about a Chevy Cruise.
Yeah.
You know, like Councilmember Simmons.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask about, I mean, I don't know. I'm just, if there's, I always like to, every so many meetings, I like to bring up how I don't drive. And so, my knowledge of cars is limited, but I hear about it a lot from everybody else around me. And I'm just wondering in terms of if there's a different brand of cars or things that we should look at that aren't breaking down at 100,000 miles. Like I know I'm in a car we drive around, that's like 200 something thousand miles. And I'm used to cars that like higher than that.
So a couple things. So of course, police vehicles are driven almost around the clock. They are a different life expectancy. We utilize very different than a traditional a family vehicle. So these vehicles are driven pretty much constantly. So the wear and tear is different. Their packages are set up differently as well. They have an abundance of electrical not overload, but an additional load on the vehicles that also wreaks havoc, on the lifespan of the vehicle. Just since I've been here, we've had to replace 2 electrical systems in vehicles. So, police vehicles are different. They the load is just different, and they don't have the same lifespan. You're not gonna get 200,000 miles out of these vehicles as you might your personal vehicle that doesn't have the same wear and tear. These are ran almost 24 hours a day, so it's different.
One of the other things that I learned, because some of the motor pool stuff comes up a lot. And so when I first got on council, I had a lot of questions about cars. And as technology changes too, and like the systems that we're using as they grow, like the older cars, we learned couldn't run the systems that needed to match what we're already paying for. Again, I'm not a car aficionado either, but when you go inside those vehicles and you see everything that's in there, it's remarkable actually what is inside of a police car. And I can't.
Yeah, the load. So with police specific vehicles, they try to create an electrical system that can handle the load and all of the different pieces. As technology increases, we keep adding to that. Right. So now we have, computers. If you go into our typical police car, you have a laptop in there. Now you got the speed enforcement. You have our camera systems, which takes up a significant amount of power and space. So all of those things together running almost 24 hours a day, it really wreak havoc on a vehicle. So we have to be diligent about our maintenance and keeping up on those pieces. So that's a component of this as well. And then once they hit a certain space, we want to get a little return on investment. We don't want to run a vehicle till we can't get anything out of it. So we want to get it to a place where, okay, it's serviced us well, and we can still get some return on investment on it and utilize it to help augment what we're doing.
One of the other things that I'll add that was a concern of mine when I saw some of the cars that officers were driving was safety, because some of them are more sportier than I would have expected to be in Michigan winters. And so I think the idea of moving all of them to explore like the all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive is safer as well, as they're traversing the streets, because we know how bad our winters and roads can get. There was a 30-car pileup on a bridge last night on Telegraph, right? Just some black ice, no snow, just black ice, right? And so really scary to be driving, like, folks who drive rear-wheel drive cars and stuff like that in the wintertime. So I think for safety as well, as they have to traverse the city at sometimes higher speeds, even in inclement weather, that makes sense to me too.
There's also another component. We talk about passenger or safety. So if we have a detainee in some of the smaller vehicles, they have a hard time fitting in those vehicles, injuries, all of those, complaints. So the larger rear makes it a little bit easier to get, people in and out of those vehicles, reducing the risk and the chance of injury and complaints. So it all, ties together. I think personally that the Explorers are a better option than the small sedan. There is components with speed, rear wheel drive, clearance. This is a snow haven, and
Don't need you to say all that. We know.
I'm a little concerned for my own driving.
Further questions or any comments before we move to vote? Thank you. Cost savings, we want more of that. Thank you very much.
Working on it.
If there are no further questions, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Tucson,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Oh, yes.
Councilmember King,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Brown,
Yes,
Councilmember Sweet.
Yes.
6 yeses, the motion carries.
thank you. All right, liaison reports, Police Advisory Commission.
This Thursday, the 21st at 7 p.m. right here in Ypsilanti City Council Chambers, we'll be holding a YPAC Ypsilanti Police Advisory Commission meeting. If you would like to be in attendance to learn what is going on in your own backyard with our local police department, come on down. We'll be happy to see you. 7 o'clock right here, 1 South Huron Street. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that commercial.
Welcome.
Human Relations Commission.
I'm excited to announce we have a meeting January the 31st.
Woo, 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Oh, that's right.
Can't wait. Can't wait. Parks,
Will it be here?
in City Hall, right?
Here at
Okay.
City Hall.
All right. Parks and Arts.
You will find a detailed report recapping their year in the packet, and there will be a presentation from the commission to city council at our January 9th council meeting.
Awesome. Can't wait. Sustainability.
I missed the most recent meeting. I don't have an update.
I believe it didn't happen due to quorum anyway.
Oh, all right. HDC. Oh, wait. We don't have anyone there now, do we? Okay. When does that meeting happen? I know we literally just had Alan here. I should have asked.
They're the opposite Tuesdays of council.
They're on Tuesdays. Okay. So Tuesday.
She sent me an email with it just a second.
Oh yeah, can we, as we go through this, can we note the ones that are now empty? Is that what you were?
Oh, yeah,
Is that what you're
yeah.
identifying? Yeah, because I was just like, oh, because there's some of the other ones too. I
Yep,
know.
yep. Because it's HDC and ZBA and
HTC is going to be on January 9th as well, but it's at the senior center.
I conflict with our meeting.
Right. At least for January.
January. Okay. I was gonna try to go. All right. But they are on Tuesdays. They're usually the opposite, but because of the new year, it falls on the same Tuesday. Okay. Planning Commission.
Meets tomorrow night at 7 p.m. One of the issues that is being brought forth from several people, well, from a Ward 2 resident is the number of citations for people parking recreational vehicles in their driveway. And so Planning Commission will be entertaining ways to deal with that.
All right. Thank you. We do not have a liaison to ZBA, even though how often have they been meeting?
As needed.
Right.
They had a meeting in October, but I honestly think that was more just to meet, just to say they met this year.
Okay. So ZBA. Okay. SEMCOG.
No update.
All right. Watts is open then as well in terms of a council liaison.
And when do they typically?
Anybody know when Watts meetings are?
I have to look that up.
Okay, well,
I can look. I know.
Urban County, I missed that meeting. I don't know I can't remember who the backups are.
They are Katie and she's not.
Oh, she's not here, okay. DDA meets Thursday. Friends of Rutherford Pool, it's the winter.
Did not have a, didn't have a meeting, but they're looking at end of the year, like everybody else. Contribution letters. And yeah, that's about it.
All right, thank you. And bicentennial.
Pretty much wrapped up for the year. The bicentennial book is still available for purchase at the Historical Society if you're looking for a good Ipsy gift for Christmas.
Winter read.
Holiday gift. But yes, they've wrapped up most of their activities.
Our 200th year is almost over. Happy birthday again, Ipsy. Okay.
Speaking of, does council want that removed from the agenda going forward?
January, yeah, I don't think we'll need it anymore. We won't need it anymore.
Centennial +1 committee.
You gotta get your liaisons to something else.
Yeah.
All right, well, look at the openings, there's 3. That's okay. All right, council proposed business, Councilmember Tucson.
Nothing really. I just want to say, yeah, I don't have really much to say. I'm not gonna try and pull anything.
All right, well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Sweet.
Do not have anything tonight.
Airport 10.
I wanted to say thank you to Director Westler for getting the contract to repair the sinkholes throughout the city. People have been calling them potholes. They're not potholes because they're about 6 feet deep. But I just wanted to say thank you because there have been somewhat unkind responses to this on social media, but I just wanted to say personally, thank you for taking care of that. The Christmas tree is back up on Cornell between the traffic cones. So yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Other point, about a year ago, I was participated in a climate summit that was called by the members of the Wolf Pack, which is a group that was started through the National Wildlife Federation of local business people that were interested in environmental issues. And what they were trying to do at that time was to facilitate conversations between various institutions throughout the county to have dialogue and share resources and come together to make collective progress towards realistic changes for climate. I attended a meeting on Monday, which what happened a year ago was that there were a couple meetings and it seemed like a course of action was coalescing to move forward as a group, and then the brakes got put on with that. There were some objections to the way that was moving forward, and then nothing happened. So then a year later, I went to this meeting on Monday, which was a very small portion of people that were willing to meet and move forward with this. And so what has happened in the meantime is that one of the things that happened last year was that people were looking to the county to be kind of a facilitator for those conversations, and rather than having the Wolf Pack do that, have the administration through the county do that. And so what's happened is that Andrew, his last name, the assistant,
DeLuca.
Thank you.
DeLu.
Has kind of taken that up, but they're also now have funding to have hire 2 staff people for resilience work. And one of those people will then be coordinating that effort. The other report that was given at that time was on the EPA grant for resilience hubs, and that was the meeting kind of went like many meetings that happen in the county, and that the county and the city of Ann Arbor talked, and then it was taken away from everybody else. And I brought that up, and that resembles the same power dynamic that has always existed. And I brought that forward, that, you know, the grant that went in, people on Beth Gibbons and people on the Sustainability Commission had been working on that grant. And then the city of Ann Arbor had put that forward. So now we are a partner in that, but that dynamic came into play with that as well. And I didn't want to get into the details of that meeting, but at the same time, it's still the same thing. Ann Arbor has the staff and the ability to go out and get those things. And so it was a problematic dynamic, but I brought that to the attention of the people there, and it got very much, people agreed that that was one of the things that needs to happen. So in facilitating these conversations, I try to move it away from having the county and the city of Ann Arbor be the hubs for that, because, you know, there's a lot to be gained from having those conversations in less, you know, more egalitarian way. So to that end, there will be other meetings to come up with topics for the ensuing meetings, and the timeline for the county to hire their staff is the end of the first quarter in 2024. And so I mentioned that as we start talking about, you know, looking at solutions for the issues with the DPS yard, you know, and those partnerships that Bonnie has been exploring. I sat next to Aaron from YCS facilities and had a wonderful conversation about possibilities for ways we can help each other out. So I look forward to those conversations going forward. This is a small group that's then going to bring the larger group back. But this is, you know, Bonnie was at this meeting. I'm not sure if you made it to last year. I think Lois was still around for this. So, but that'll go forward, and hopefully that will be fruitful in terms of having ways that we can combine forces to make better progress.
Thank you. Did they name like what that partnership would look like or what amount? Because I haven't heard specifically.
For the resilience hubs, basically there were 4 resilience hubs, and the person presenting was one of the students that was one of the cohorts of the master's students from SEAS. He now works for the city.
Yeah, Brett.
Rice. Yeah.
Rice, yeah.
So as it stands, there's 2 resilience hubs for Ann Arbor, 1 for Ypsilanti, and 1 for somewhere else in the county. So, and it's not clear where they're planning on doing that. And in terms of the breakdown for financial, he was subbing that day and didn't have all that information. Okay. But we can figure that out.
Thank you.
And I pointed out that we had been working on resilience hubs here for quite some time before that had gone through and that grant had been funded, and that seemed like a strange situation. Yeah. But people were certainly sympathetic, and then gave voice to the times that they had seen that as well. So hopefully this will be much better conversations going forward.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Councilmember Simmons.
Thank you. Let's see here. A few things. Let's see here. I'll go in reverse order. So one, I know someone had asked about update for Prospect Park. So thanks, Bonnie, for updating me on that. So just want to share for folks who are looking at wanting to see upgrades there. One, to just say that the current playground equipment does not have any active safety issues. And does note that we actually have a certified playground inspector on staff. So just want to say that, and that they do plan to re-inspect in the spring. And just to also name that even though we do have funds from a bequest, which was about $72,000, that we know that we'll need additional funds to actually complete the park. And the estimate is around 150 to 200,000 to be able to do that. And in order to be available for, or in order for it to be eligible for federal money, there would need to be an archaeological study and some different signage at that park. So it's something to keep in mind. So just wanted to share that update. Also, folks have been very active around talking about the Dorsey Estates development, and had some different questions around that. And so I know I'm trying to put some information out as some folks are emailing and to post it, but also just to say here that this site was, has always been under being developed as a brownfield site, and that the developer is required to meet residential standards put forward by the National Resources and Environmental Protection Act on residential lots, and that the developer has a team of experts at the site. And right now the plan is to excavate the contaminated fill in the residential area of the site, to isolate it under a geotextile liner, and clean fill in the stormwater detention area of the property. And that the excess fill that must be excavated in the residential area will be treated as contaminated and disposed of off-site in accordance with applicable regulations. I might have some questions about what that amount, like when they'll know when that is being moved, but just to note, some people were concerned both in terms of as the excavation is happening, if there's risk of, as it's being dug up, and just to name that the concern with metal contamination is more of as you're physically touching it, not that it's airborne. And so that's one thing. And so that's why you'll see that it's covered at the site. And then, and they also said that there would be fencing around the area where it will be. And then also, the concern is that the contamination would become an issue for the future homeowners of that site. And I'm just looking at this letter from the partners with Renovare. And so they're saying it's not accurate that the contaminated soil will be placed back on residential lots. I think, it still will be some of it will be in this retaining stormwater detention area, but that seems to be a typical or regular way of moving some soil in these kinds of developments. So I just wanted to address some of those concerns, knowing that this is an ongoing area of concern for people. Let's see here. Also just wanted to say, so we got an email about the Home Readiness Incentive Grant Program. And this is something I know that I remember learning about at the MML conference, that this was coming forward. So just thinking about whether this is something that's already on the city's radar. Andrew, is this already kind of in the works for us? I know the application will be it's in January.
We looked at it and I don't think we would be eligible.
Oh.
So a follow-up, just to make sure.
Okay. It seemed, well, okay, so yeah, that would be a whole nother question. I know it seemed like there were a lot of things that might be eligible, but and I was also thinking about the grant that staff had already worked on in collaboration with Ann Arbor recently that also had some things that might, but anyway, so there were some thoughts around that. So I guess we should just make sure that we're eligible or not first, but that looked promising. And then the other thing I just wanted to bring up, I know I sent an email to our police chief and to our interim city manager and the mayor about concerns around kind of our officer conduct during the December 5th council meeting outside in targeting the protesters, and just wanting wanting to address this on a larger scale, like at a policy level, in terms of our policies around how we interact with protests and protesters, especially as we head into 2024, where it's likely that we'll have more, and it's also likely that we can have actually run-ins with different groups that might actually bring violence into the space as well. And so I would like for us to kind of be proactive about this and put something forward that ensures safety for all involved, and also as more practiced and more de-escalation tactics. So I just want to put that out there too, and that I'm happy to talk with folks about ideas about what that could look like if there's other interest as well. And that's it for me today. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could.
Oh, yeah.
Now I do remember seeing this, this grant round and review. The application portal opens on the 16th. There is no deadline.
You know about the housing readiness?
Yep.
Yeah, it's just rolling until the money runs out, which will be quick probably. So it's just something like, if we think that we want to do it, it would be good to look at it. And maybe this is something we can see if we can have our good friend Dwayne help us with. I don't know too. Maybe we can ask him to help us with that application.
Revolved around zoning, majority of it, for just land use policies, master plan updates and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That would just encourage increasing housing supply.
Mm-hmm.
Chief, I saw you moving. Sure, if you have something to share. Good evening again.
So we're gonna formally respond to your email, but I think there needs to be a point of clarification and some decorum in being accurate in statements, especially made publicly like that, and unilaterally making attacks against public safety. Reference that event, very one-sided statements. I think should be noted that when the protesters took over the street, for one, it's against the law to occupy and take over a thoroughfare in the state of Michigan. However, we didn't have an issue with that. I directed my officers to redirect traffic a block away, in which they did. And the protesters blocked all of the traffic, put cones out there. But what you didn't see was that the protesters surrounded a police car and stopped that officer from leaving to respond to a 911 call. That's problematic. Okay? The other part that you didn't see is that some of those protesters put their hands on my officers. That's problematic. So when we start talking about de-escalation, I think they were very much in control and de-escalated because they didn't respond to that. And we're going to address that in another piece. But to say just to, to unilaterally attack, the officers like they did something wrong when we have protesters that are being antagonistic to the police going to the point of battery, putting your hands on an officer, that's problematic. So I'll get you a formal, but I'm able to watch video and all of the things. So what you're saying is incredibly inaccurate. And
So there were no cars that were rushing toward the protesters. So
I don't know that
two accounts.
the cars were rushing to the protesters because the police officers had to call for backup for help from other jurisdictions. So what I'm saying to you as a council person, and your obligation is we need to be factual when we put out those statements, and not just half the statement, but all of it.
I understand. And I also have seen videos of people being pushed. We've heard comments multiple times. So what I'm talking about is that we need to have a better policy, because protest is going to happen. People
Absolutely.
take over the streets. So to say that, and so they also, to divert traffic, I think that makes a lot of sense, right? My point is that I don't think that the police officers needed to be engaging. And when we're talking about de-escalation, I do have a higher stance toward professionals in a space than I do over emotional civilians in a space. So I'm not trying to say people should be putting hands on anybody. Absolutely not. And when you're in this space and people are like, oh, are they pushing here? Then I'm gonna go grab them, right? It causes confusion. And my point is, I think that we should be trying to protect everyone and not have that kind of confusion as we think about increases of protests. And this was this one. People talked about at Depot Town, the tree lighting, right?
More to that as
So
well.
this is why I'm bringing it up, because it's coming up, and I'm like, and I can see that it's just like amplifying and building sentiment within the community, right? And so I'm just trying to say, like, we don't want any of that. We don't want that to be escalating at all. But these different instances, all it does is create a foundation of further distrust and anti-police sentiment that can boil over with, as you're talking about, like, tired for all these different things. Like, so that's what I'm trying to avoid. I'm not trying to, like when people first were saying it, that's why I sent it out, right? That's why I tried to, send it out. And I first said, this is something to talk about. But then seeing this and seeing, how vehicles were used and people in like a car being driven through the crowd, when people were like, the car could have, if they needed to go, why didn't they go through the parking lot, right?
They were standing behind it and in front of it. So I'll agree with you on this, is that we absolutely want to provide safety for everybody involved, and that's the goal. And we do utilize de-escalation and great judgment in those situations. And we understand and support people's right to protest. We got no issue with that whatsoever. What I'm standing before you saying today is that as me as the chief, you as a public servant and a city council person, we have a duty and obligation to be factual and not push personal agendas in this message of anti-police, because that's just not accurate. Some of the things you're saying is just not accurate. So we need to be factual, right? Let's gather the information, be factual, then we can go forward. But we're absolutely going to do everything we can to make sure that this community is safe. We're going to be equitable in our policing. That is and we're going to be transparent, at least while I'm here, period. And officers we're going to make the best decisions, okay? And when they don't, they're going to be held accountable. And I don't think you'll find a person in that building today that will be to the contrary and believe that I won't hold them accountable. So we'll work through that. I'll get you a formal piece, but we just have to make sure that we're factual in what we say.
So should we send the video, like different videos to you, or do you feel like you already have that? I'm just trying to make sure, if you're saying you want to.
You can send me videos. I'm watching video as well. So, of all of these incidents.
Okay, great. So I'll have folks do that then.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. Thank you. Councilmember King.
I just want to talk about an email I received from Educate Youth, and they were just asking for more police presence around their business when the students and staff are going in and leaving. So I just wanted to bring that up. Also, Perry School continues to be an issue with speeding, and I also got a request from a resident inquiring about a light on Harriet and Perry. So on correct, on Harriet and Perry, they said it's really dark and it feels unsafe.
Oh, you mean like a street light, not a stoplight?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Like they don't have one or they,
Yeah, it is dark. It is.
Yeah. So that was a request that was put in. And also I want to say Merry Christmas to everybody. And I want people to remember during holidays, people do get lonely and feel isolated. So I am encouraging people to spend time with their neighbor or spend time with people that have recently or in the past lost a loved one, and people that don't have strong social connections. I am just encouraging people to just love on somebody.
Yes, thank you. We need a little bit more of that.
Just a little.
Just a tad. Thank you. So follow-up questions, one being around the lighting. So Oracle Westler, if we needed, if we need new lights, additional lights, because I will agree that at Perry and Harriet is very dark. Even when I have my fog lights on in my vehicle, I still, I'm never sure if there's a person crossing the street, for instance, if it's the evening. How does that work if we wanted to put a street light up? Am I asking the right person that question? Okay. I'm like, okay. Because I do think that is a dangerous intersection in terms of the lighting in the evening hours. Across on the other side of the street by Hope. Yeah. It's not, it ain't that bright. It's very dark, particularly like that corner where Perry School is and the apartments are across the street. It's not, it doesn't shine over there. I can't think right now if there's something obstructing that. I don't think so. We don't want to lose a tree, but yeah, it is very dark there. Couple of community events. I just want to reiterate, some of them have been shared in previous meetings that are happening over the next couple of weeks. There is the Parker Community Center Christmas party on Friday the 22nd from 1 to 3. There are 2 separate iterations of opportunities for children and families to get coats, gloves, and things at that event over at Park Ridge. Again, that's Friday from 1 to 3, and then Supreme Felons will be giving out coats, I believe, at 3 o'clock to starting at 3 p.m. I guess until they're gone. There's also a Black Rose Vigil on the 22nd over at the Black Rose mural over across the street here from 5:30 to 6:30, hosted by the Community Violence Intervention Team. There is the community dinner on Saturday the 23rd, hosted by Women and Men Working for Change, which is the annual Christmas community-wide dinner at the Freight House, 4 to 7. All are welcome. There is no dress code. And a number of other things honestly happening in the community over this holiday season. So to the point that Councilmember King made, I encourage folks to just get involved and come out. Even if it's just a fellowship with community members at some of these events, or to provide some additional helping hands over the holiday season. Yeah, I had a list, but I'm just gonna also say 2023, I almost said 24. 2023 has been an interesting year. And as we wrap it up, I just want to extend my gratitude to everyone for all of your hard work. I know we've had some really great times. We've had some really trying times, but we've made it to the end of the year in our last council meeting of this year. And I hope that everybody has a good break and comes back rejuvenated in January, as we will be taking off quickly, doing a lot of things, but also knowing that I truly believe that we all have the best interests of this community and the city at the forefront, even if we don't always agree. And I think that, if we continue to work together and try to problem solve, we can move ourselves forward really positively in the city of Ypsilanti. And so I wish you all a happy holiday and a happy new year and all that good fun stuff. And I'm sure I'll see some of you at some of these other events over the next week or two, but I just wanted to make sure that I let everybody know how much I appreciate all of you and in supporting me in this, first year in this role, because it has been interesting to say the very least. But I'm grateful and happy to be here. City manager.
I might just have a couple things. The town center has submitted an application for 9% LIHTC credits for needed upgrades and renovations to the building. This will preserve the affordable units until 2070.
Okay.
The Dorsey Estates Brownfield Plan is going to be amended by the BRA. This is something that we've always known what's going to happen. This is not something being triggered by something that happened recently. So I want council to be aware that that is coming. I'm meeting with Nathan Vogt on Thursday to discuss that. We all know the goal sessions are the 9th, 16th, 23rd, and then the Ward 2 interviews will be on the 18th. We completed our interviews for the city planner and we'll be extending an offer letter to one of the candidates. And then our deputy clerk interviews will be finished on Friday. So we hope to get an offer letter out by the end of this week as well. The building official that we contract with Pittsfield has decided to retire. And Pittsfield no longer wants to contract with us. So we're going to need to make a decision if we want to hire our own in-house building official, which is essentially paid for through permit applications and things like that. So that's something that we'll need to think about and rather quickly. Also, I've asked for department heads to start looking at their non-union employees for raises. I'm kind of want to implement a bottom-up philosophy for raises and just stay in line with the union increase. You have the 3% COLA increase each year. So if an employee warrants a merit increase, they would get an additional 2%. For department heads, I'm gonna wait until that's done, and it would make more sense to wait until the city manager is appointed. We've been working on the administrative services contract with the DDA. It was reviewed by operations and finance. And I imagine that will be coming to council again after that department head is selected, so we can make that transition away from the lease. And that's all I got.
That was good information. Thank you. Mr. Barr.
Yes, I'd like to say a word about protests. This is not the first time that this issue has come up to city council. I'd like to indicate that there's an absolute constitutional right to protest to redress grievances, but that right does not extend to breaking the law. Blocking the sidewalk from free transfer of people and standing in the street or blocking the street is against the law, and no one is above the law. And so protesters, if they break the law, have to accept the consequences.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. All right, the city manager went over those communications. This is our second opportunity for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to address council, please raise your hand and I will call on you. And those on Zoom, get ready if you want to speak to us. No? Hi, that's it? All right. No? All right, anybody on Zoom?
We have Kat again.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, council and mayor. I just wanted to speak to Chief Moore, setting the facts straight about the recent events at the December 5th meeting. I understand you're new here, Police Chief Moore. So I just kind of wanted to provide a little bit of context that the city of Ypsilanti has been talking about this initiative of community policing for a couple of years. And I've only known that just by watching different public recordings and hours-long footage of trying to figure out what are our efforts in trying to do, alternatives to policing and trying to do more humanizing approaches to different issues that our community is experiencing. And this past October, the same officer who unprovoked pushed me outside of the December 5th meeting whenever I was standing there as a bystander, and I do have video evidence proving this, where I was unprovokedly pushed by this person. This same officer in this past October was also caught on video by my partner and I, and nearby a few blocks from our home at a restaurant where they are strapping a individual, a black male, into a gurney outside of a local restaurant, and they proceed to comment what the individual is saying out loud, mocking the person and their delusion. And I have a recording for you that I would like to share.
You guys want to hear anything?
I can't hear anything. I'm trying, I can't get past. Is it okay if I walk past behind you to your left? Okay.
That's a matter of the devil in the sky. The devil in the sky. Yes.
No, I'm not saying. So that was an example, and I would be more than happy to email this, which I plan on doing afterward and accordingly. This individual who was experiencing delusions and saying the devil was in the skies, community policing doesn't look like mocking and saying those words out loud to the individual that you are strapping to a gurney. And neither does pushing a community member outside of a city hall meeting when they're trying to protect their comrade and ally who is wearing a hijab and having her hands in the air, trying to let the cop know about her de-escalation practices. That is not setting the facts straight by going up and saying that there was a provocation on the other person's side. And I really think that it's important to consider that. And I will be messaging all of us in an email. And I apologize that my words are not more eloquent. I was saying this out of a rash response to this most recent comment. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Anybody else on Zoom would like to speak? Press the raise hand button, please.
All right, well, seeing none, I will close public comment and bid everyone a good evening and a happy holiday again. The meeting is adjourned. Bless you. Bless you. It ain't 9 o'clock. 9:40.